In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting was provided on December 10th, 2024, by sending written notice and electronic notice to the Courier News and the Breeze, posting on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building, and filing with the township clerk. May we have the roll call, please?
Councilman Kirsch.
Here.
Councilman Cardella.
Here.
Councilman Perdoso. Councilman Ring. Council President Norgalis.
Here. Would you stand, if you're able, for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alan Cardella? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have minutes for approval for the April 24th, 2025 regular session. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at that? And if they have, could I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Motion, second?
Well, my only commentary, I was not present at that meeting, so
Okay.
I'll either abstain or not vote.
I'll second it. All those in favor, approving, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. The closed session was circulated separately. Let the record show Councilman Pedroso has joined us. We're up to Township Council reports. Mr. Cardella, would you start us off, please?
Okay, since our last meeting, there has been a fair amount of activity with the Community Block Grant Program, and today we had our last meeting, and the Community Block Grants have been issued.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, Michael.
Thank you, Mr. President. So first, I want to acknowledge the reason I was not at the last meeting. I was part of the first wave of Newark Airport interminable delays. Despite having a 3:30 flight from Atlanta, which is supposed to be 2 hours away, I got home at 12:15. So even though I know you guys were here late, I got home even later.
Got to stop by.
I could have if I'd gotten in a little bit earlier. But I know we have a large crowd, so I'm going to focus my comments only on the budget and acknowledge that we've received what I'll call a working draft of the mayor's budget. The reason I call that a working draft is that in the 6 years that this group has been together, we've approached the budget as a collaborative affair. First with the budget committee members, that's myself and Councilman Ring, and then in time we bring in our other colleagues so that we can all express our points of view and come to a budget that reflects each of our points of view and is in our judgment what is best for our community. We have several meetings on the calendar, so assuming that everybody makes their meetings and all of our staff members do their appropriate follow-ups and homework, we are anticipating a budget introduction. Well, it's obviously the mayor's choice, but expect to be in a position for the mayor to be able to introduce a budget 2 weeks from tonight, May 22nd. And just I want to proactively note that there is Resolution 13A with some temporary appropriations that really can be seen through the lens of it being a continuing budget resolution that allows us to continue to pay our bills. And as everyone will see, they are really our minimum bills. There are no bells or whistles involved in those temporary appropriations. We are literally keeping the lights on, doing the minimum that is required in order to pay our bills until we have a budget, which we expect to hopefully have introduced 2 weeks from tonight. And then the process from there is to hold a budget hearing and ultimately adoption 4 weeks later. So that's where we stand. And thank you. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Philippe, please.
Thank you, Council President. First of all, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. It's nice to see so many faces. The only thing I want to say is I want to wish all the moms a very happy Mother's Day. I hope you have a great day, and you're well taken care of. Have a good time. Happy Mother's Day. Moms are very important. Appreciate you. That's all I have. Thank you.
That's it? Okay. My report is as follows. Today is a time of jubilation for the world's 1.6 billion Roman Catholics. As everyone knows, Pope Leo XIV was selected, and he happens to be a native of Chicago. And so we're very proud that he had roots in this country, but it was a surprise to many, and I think the bookmakers probably lost some money today. Anyway, I attended the monthly Bridgewater Municipal Alliance meeting where we were introduced to Ruby Arthur, who is the latest social worker to join the Bridgewater Somerset County Crisis Intervention Team. She will be the principal responder for Bridgewater and Bound Brook and will share space with Damien in the office just outside and around to the left of the courtroom. Also, as part of the Alliance report, high school counselor April McGrath-Lutsky reported that locked vaping disposal containers are now being installed in the high school restrooms as a disposal alternative to students trying to flush their vaping items all too frequently clogging the toilets. These boxes will be a little bit like a Roach Motel. They'll put the items in and can't get it back out again. Sometime during July and August, PSE&G contractors will be paving curb to curb those streets, especially those with intense school traffic. To their credit, PSE&G did undertake an interim fix by grinding down high spots and filling in potholes over the past month. I attended several redevelopment meetings with the administration and legal staff to assess projects on major projects such as 1200 Route 22, the former Ethicon product, and the Petersbrook Innovation Center, which will be the subject of a pilot review in just a few minutes. For those of our residents of Mexican ancestry, the recent celebration of Cinco de Mayo is an annual celebration held on May 5th to celebrate Mexico's victory over the Second French Empire at the Battle of Puebla in 1862. Planning work continues as we move towards the selection of a sanitary sewer engineering firm to perform an in-depth analysis of our aging sewage pumping stations, one from 1969 and the other from 1985. That is my report. Mr. Mayor, report, sir.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Just a few items to report this evening before we get to some of our presentations. We had a couple events that were planned last week, although they were rained out, unfortunately. So the Township Spring Carnival that we co-host with the JCC has been moved to June 22nd. And we had a Township Teacher Appreciation event that we were working with some of our PTOs with that has been moved to Monday, May 12th. So we'll hopefully get those events back up and running. We did have a very successful first annual Township Garage Sale. So that's something that we've been wanting to do for a little while now. We had 63 homes registered and more participated. So if you did register, hopefully you were able to sell a lot of your stuff and it was successful. And we'll continue that next year as well. So that's my report.
Thank you. We're moving now to item number 7, a proclamation, and the mayor will lead us in the proclamation for Brody Nussman and Goals for Imagine.
Okay. We have with us tonight a young man that some of you may have seen was honored, it was noticed in the papers for some of his work recently. And we wanted to take the opportunity to issue a proclamation to bring further recognition to him and to his success. Brody, if you want to come up while I read this so people can look at you and people can take pictures and your parents can smile and enjoy it. So, Brody Nussman is a young man, launched something called Goals for Imagine, which is a fundraiser inspired by the legacy of Mike Schambach. So for many of you who are Bridgewater graduates, if you're someone who's my age, you remember Mike Schambach and his leadership in our community and the impact that he had both as an athlete, his family It continues to be very active in the town. And so his legacy, it's amazing to me as somebody who was in high school at the same time as Mike Schambach. He was a little bit older than me, but to see the fact that his impact is still felt today with another generation is something personally inspiring to me. So I'm going to read the entire proclamation because it warrants reading. Whereas Bridgewater Raritan High School senior Brody Nussman has demonstrated exceptional leadership, compassion, and dedication to community service through multiple impactful initiatives during his high school career, including the founding of Goals for Imagine, a lacrosse-based fundraiser to support grieving children and families. And whereas Brody launched Goals for Imagine in 2024 to honor the legacy of the late Mike Schambach, a beloved member of the Bridgewater Raritan lacrosse community and 1998 state champion, by encouraging donations for each goal scored during the season, ultimately raising over $7,500 for Imagine, a center for coping with loss, a nonprofit offering free grief support for children and families. And whereas Brody's efforts extended beyond the lacrosse field to include the girls' varsity lacrosse team, as well as teams from Hillsborough and Somerville high schools, and he plans to expand the initiative further, demonstrating his enduring commitment to empathy, emotional well-being, and community impact. And whereas, in addition to his work with Goals for Imagine, Brody created a second fundraiser, Threes for Griegel, in memory of Dan Griegel, a cherished Bridgewater Raritan middle school teacher and basketball coach who passed away from cancer in 2021, raising over $6,000 for Dan Griegel Scholarship Fund, involving both boys and girls varsity basketball teams, further exemplifying his dedication to inclusive and meaningful change. And whereas Brody's character and leadership extended into everyday school life as a 3-year varsity athlete in both basketball and lacrosse, a unified basketball coach, and a dedicated participant in PE Partners, supporting students with developmental disabilities and autism. And whereas, in recognition of his selflessness, sportsmanship, and service, Brody was awarded the Bob Scott Award in 2024, an honor reserved for student athletes who best exemplify dedication to their sport and their community. And whereas, through his drive, generosity, and example, Brody has shown what it means to turn personal passion into lasting positive impact, uplifting others, honoring legacies, and inspiring peers through Bridgewater and beyond. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and Council of Bridgewater Township do hereby recognize and honor Brody for his outstanding achievements, including the creation of Goals for Imagine, for his commitment to service, inclusion, and leadership, and for representing the very best of the Bridgewater community. Congratulations. We're gonna take a couple pictures. You want to say a few words?
Yeah, of course.
Go, do it.
I would just like to thank the mayor and the council for this honor, and I'm just happy that I've been able to combine sports and the community with this fundraiser. And if anybody wants to support this fundraiser, on Instagram at Goals for Imagine, you can find extra information there. Thank you.
Awesome. Good. It's fitting tonight that after we honor community service with someone like Brody, that we have an opportunity to congratulate and watch our participants in our Citizens Police Academy tonight complete the program that they've undertaken. Many of you have heard me speak about this program before, heard the chief talk about it, but a few years ago we started the Citizens Police Academy, and as an effort to try to open up other ways of communication between our public and our police department, a way of making sure that our public really understands what our officers do on a day-to-day basis in a way that you can't get from just hearing a half-hour one-time lecture or reading something that's posted online. But more importantly, just learning about building relationships. Because if you spend the amount of time that all of you do with these officers, you really get to know them, hopefully form a bond with them, so that way in the future, you know where to go and they know where to go. And those relationships, I think, are just invaluable in building a sense of community, a safe community, and one that communicates with each other. So it's an honor to have this class graduating tonight. Thank you all for participating. I know it's a commitment. This is not something, again, it's not a one-time thing you show up once and do. So it shows your commitment to our community, to sharing with us and learning about everything that our officers do so we can make it a better place to live. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Chief Mitzak, and he will conduct the graduation ceremony. And I do want to thank our entire police department, command staff, and for all the folks who run this program. You do an amazing job and great representation for our department. So thank you all.
Okay, good evening, class 2501. And we have a couple alumni over here from, 2301 or 2? Yeah. All right, well, welcome back. All right, it's truly an honor to be with you tonight as we recognize the incredible group of individuals who have completed the Bridgewater Township Civilian Police Academy, again, class 2501. Before I begin, I'd like to take a moment to extend my deepest thanks and appreciation to the Mayor, Matthew Mensch. Thank you for your leadership, sir, your presence here tonight, and for your continued commitment to public safety and community engagement in Bridgewater Township. Your support is invaluable to our department and to the work we do every day, so thank you, sir. I'd like to also thank our instructors. Sergeant Jack Kennedy was the lead instructor for this class. Lieutenant Delinsky, everybody got a bunch of him. Captain Sever. I'd like to thank the other supervisors and officers and detectives for their time and energy and their dedication for this class. They went above and beyond to give the residents and interns a true behind-the-scenes look at our police department. They didn't just teach the classes, they built connections and opened doors to a greater understanding of our department. And now to our Civilian Police Academy participants, thank you. You made a choice to step forward. You chose to invest your time to learn not only how this department operates, but also why we do what we do. You toured our facilities, you observed our training, you rode in our police cars, and experienced firsthand the complexity, professionalism, and humanity that define law enforcement in Bridgewater Township. Our goal with this program is simple. It's to create transparency, build trust, and form lasting partnerships within the community. We hope that through this academy, that you not only learn more about policing, but that you also see the heart behind the badge. You are now ambassadors of this police department. You have the knowledge to help others understand what law enforcement truly involves. The challenges, the decision-making, the accountability, and the care we put into protecting this community. Let this not be an end of your involvement, but the beginning. We encourage you to stay engaged, to continue to ask questions and work alongside us as we strive to make Bridgewater a safer and more connected place to live. On behalf of the department, I thank you again for stepping forward. Thank you for caring enough about your town, your neighbors, and your police department to walk beside us. Our motto, like we taught in the class, is ensuring justice and harmony through community collaboration and constitutional policing. And this is a major part of that community collaboration. Together, we make our community stronger. So again, congratulations, and we hope this is just the beginning of your involvement with us. So thank you. I think there's a couple classmates that want to say a few words, so if you want to come up one at a time, I think there's 3 speakers.
Hello, everyone. Most of you know I'm not shy, so I figured I'd go first. As an attorney, I was overwhelmed by the knowledge of our police officers have of criminal law, especially the U.S. constitutional law and New Jersey state law. You should be very, very proud. The CPR class was amazing. I think that class alone was worth taking the course. And I want to say, one of the things that I learned from taking the course is that our police officers showed total respect for the law, while at the same time, they used their discretion to treat residents leniently when appropriate. And that was very touching. So thank you all officers. Thank you, Chief, for sponsoring the program.
Good evening, everyone. As a citizen of Bridgewater, I have the opportunity to experience and learn about the many roles that police officers place. That includes law enforcement, engaging in community service, conducting investigations, managing traffic, serving as counselors and mediators, asking problems and solving problems, and much more. The expectation to uphold and maintain integrity of the law and justice is clearly present in every aspect of Bridgewater Department. Please know that you represent the standard of excellence in the police department across the nation, and every nation should emulate this program. I would not be able to say that if I weren't a part of the Citizens Police program. Through that program, I had the honor of seeing behind the badge, sitting behind the patrol car, placing my hands on the steering wheel, even trying to start the car, to my fail. I even had a chance to listen to the dispatch room. I even had a chance to go behind the bulletproof glass and see beyond the veil of what takes place to operate the Bridgewater Police Department. And for that, I'm truly grateful. The firsthand experience of just how important to contribute and support the funding of our police department is clearly evident through this program. Without that proper funding, we would not be able to have these programs, and citizens would not be able to understand what it takes to become a police officer in this city and cities across the United States. For that, I truly stand here as a Marine, submarine, and as a New Jersey Army National Guard. I stand here, I salute you, and I applaud you. I hope that the crowd can join me in doing that. Thank you again.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca Hasuna. I was born in Bound Brook, but I've lived in Bridgewater for the past 21 years. I want to begin by thanking the Bridgewater Police Department for hosting our Citizens Police Academy. There are so many more of you than I ever realized. I didn't realize how big the department is. But I especially want to thank Sergeant Jack Kennedy and Chief John Mitzak, whose leadership, knowledge, and humor made this experience both meaningful and memorable. As a Board of Education member, I initially was interested in joining the academy to learn about the relationship between our school district and our police department. But honestly, that was a drop in the bucket compared to everything we discussed, oftentimes very well past our official 8:30 end time. And we probably could have continued for hours with all of our questions. Our class was made up of people from all generations, from political views, I assume, from all walks of life, and yet we learned together side by side. What united us was a shared curiosity and growing appreciation for the complex, principled work our officers do grounded firmly in the Constitution. For me personally, two experiences that really stood out. The ride-along gave me a first-hand look at the challenges and split-second decisions officers face every day, notably their concern for the community and for each other. And the use of force training, especially handling a firearm for the first time, was eye-opening. It helped me appreciate both the responsibility and the discipline required in those moments. As an aside, I also now give field sobriety tests to all of my family members, and I think I'm pretty good. Another part of this experience that truly expanded my perspective was meeting the department's community partners. It opened my eyes to the opportunities for continued learning, engagement, and even volunteering. I truly hope more people in our town take advantage of this incredible program. It brings our community and our police department closer in understanding and respect. This academy gave us more than information. It gave us connection, context, and a deeper respect for the men and women who serve this community. Thank you again, Sergeant Kennedy and the entire department, for your time, your trust, your transparency, and your commitment to partnership.
All right, now we're going to do hand out the certificates. Sergeant Kennedy will be responsible for that. Mary, you want to take a picture?
Yeah.
Do you take a picture individually?
Yeah, they come up, Chief. We'll take pictures.
Okay.
And then we'll get a group picture.
Okay.
Mary and Stephanie, want to put together? Ed and Lorraine. Our intern, Hadley.
Is that your phone there? All right.
I'm sure they appreciate it, and I know we do.
Thank you very much.
We should pay you overtime. Oh, yes, you should get it, though.
We'll just take a couple of minutes so those folks who want to go out in the rain can leave, and thanks for coming.
Jessup, good to see you as always.
Councilman, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, yeah.
Not a living room. Yeah.
Wake up. Before we go to the of course. Oh, yeah, I got it. A little nod to that one.
Not to put any undue
Right.
pressure, but you'd be surprised how well they zoom.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it won't help me or hurt me.
Mike would have gotten a haircut this year if he had known that. But alas. All right.
That's laid plans.
Did you give them something to throw up or no?
I did, but I don't think we're.
What do you think, Michael Kirsch?
Went all right. How about yourself?
Peachy.
Gotcha.
She was giving me
We're up to item number 9, which is a brief presentation on the Petersbrook Innovation Center, and it was formerly known as the Center of Excellence. I'm going to ask the mayor to say a few words.
Yeah, just a few, excuse me, few intro comments, and then, may have questions or comments later. But one of the things that we are looking at with, several different properties for different reasons is, to look at areas in need of redevelopment and the applicability in different cases of pilots. Now, as these guys will be able to tell you in more, better detail than I can articulate, generally pilot it's not tax-free, it's a payment in lieu of taxes. It's another way of calculating the amount of money that a property owner is going to pay with regard to their taxes, and it allows us to do a variety of different things. It's, for lack of a better term, it's another tool in our toolbox to help us both manage development as well as to make sure we maximize our potential revenue as the host town for whatever potential development or project may come in. It may not fit in every instance, but this is something that we're looking at for this project, and there may be other ones as well. So, with that,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is going to be a 2-part series. There will be no test after we're done, so I want to put everybody at ease. I'm going to talk for just a couple of minutes, and it's sort of a pilot 101, the very basic, or Cliff Notes, or whatever you like. And basically, then the real heavy hitters, Matt Jessup and Mike Hanley, will take over and try to provide a little more. Now, this is not a master's thesis level thing. I don't expect anyone to be an expert about pilot, but it's not the people who run the planes or guide the boats. This is a payment in lieu of taxes. And a payment in lieu of taxes is a payment made to basically to compensate the government for some or all of the property tax revenue lost due to the use of real property. The property in question must be defined as in need of development. We're not talking about Class A property. We're talking about property that has possibly set vacant, property that may be hazardous. There are a whole litany, and that's a whole different course. But the specific site that we're talking about at this point has been one that has been identified as in need of redevelopment. But before I get into the pilot property, I want to talk a little bit about the traditional tax that if you're a property owner any place, you get a tax bill. Could I have the A chart, please? I have but 2 charts. And the traditional tax attribution for land and buildings is listed on either side. It's composed of several components. The one piece is the county tax, 14.9%, the county library tax, which is 2.0, the county open space, which is 1.5, the big bruiser in this, which is the Bridgewater Raritan Board of Education, they get 67.7%. Bridgewater Municipal, our piece, 12.5, and then the fire districts, the 4 fire districts in the township get another 1.4. So basically, there's some minor rounding which comes up to 100%. But that's what happens for a traditional thing, and that traditional use applies to both land and building. Now, moving forward, could I have the second chart, please? When we get to a pilot program, there are 2 parts to the pilot process, and the first, which is the building part, would be taxed. Now, by the way, any pilot program is a negotiation between the administration and the property owner. It's not the case that we come along and put a stamp on something and say, this is the number we want. It is a negotiated process because this actually represents a win-win for both sides of the equation. Now, the county piece in a pilot attribute, and a pilot only applies to the building piece. It does not apply to the land piece. But for the value of the building that exists on the property, 5% of the tax that is finally agreed to must go to the county. The other 95%, it is the flexibility of the discretion of the township to decide where it's going to go, whether they want to go back and fund any of the previous components or keep it all. Now, the property in question, the former COE property on 202, 206. There are no buildings on that property right now. Every single building on that 67 acres has been demolished based on demolition permits issued by the Township of Bridgewater in conformance with state requirements. So right now, there is nothing on that property in terms of building. And that's part of the issue for future development. Now, the pilot attribution for the land follows the traditional format that you see there. Those are the same percentages, the 14, the 2, 1.5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the fundamental difference between the pilot program and the traditional tax is that there is a larger opportunity for the township to take advantage of keeping an additional, a larger share of the property tax. Now, in terms of the pilot, the previous distribution centers apply, and we've talked a little bit. So you know, you're grounded now. You know what a traditional allocation is, and you know what a pilot piece may be. And now we move out of my part of this, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt and Mike, who are the real experts. They are the folks who have been at the bargaining table or the call it the negotiating table with the folks from now Petersbrook Innovation, formerly Center of Excellence, and they're here to tell you about where we're headed, because tonight is just a discussion. 2 weeks from tonight, I fully expect that we will have the next step of this, which is the introduction of an ordinance to develop the pilot program between Bridgewater Township and the Center for Excellence. And some weeks after that, there would be an adoption. So this is not an instantaneous process. It has been one that has gone on for months. Gentlemen, now, with that splendid lead-in,
Well, thank you, Councilman. I'll going to start here and turn it over to Mike very quickly. I know you said this wasn't a test, but that was well done. I'll give you an A-.
I'll take it.
Matt Jessup, McManaman, Scotland, and Bauman, your redevelopment council. Just a couple things I wanted to add to the 101 briefly for the benefit of obviously everybody here, but certainly for the public. I want to start with what the mayor said. This really is a tool in the municipality's toolkit. It helps to make projects that are not otherwise financially viable, right? So we want to turn this vacant or underutilized land, this land that is an area in need of redevelopment, an important distinction from all the other land in the town, into something vibrant, producing to the benefit of the public, to taxpayers, et cetera. And oftentimes you can't do that without the financial benefits of a pilot. Not only does it make the economics of the project work for the developer, it also provides certainty to the developer in one of its biggest expenses in its budget, right? No matter what the type of project is, it can control salaries, it understands operating expenses, but real estate taxes, which are not a small component in anybody's project, are completely outside of the control of the property owner or the developer. A lot of the taxes, as you just noticed, are outside of the control of this governing body, right? A lot of the taxes are decided by the school district or by the county or by the other taxing districts. So the pilot creates financial certainty to the developer in what their obligation, what their tax obligation will be on their project, which is really important. As you mentioned, Councilman, the pilot is an improvement on the taxes only. Depending on the project, projects will still pay land taxes according to the traditional distribution of taxes that you showed earlier. In some cases, you can also exempt the land, but certainly in industrial and commercial type projects, we don't see, we're not able to exempt the land. We also don't just hand out the pilots like this, right? We go through a pretty significant financial analysis to make sure that the project deserves it and needs it for one of the reasons I mentioned. So the developer may come to us and say, I need a pilot. Of course they do. But through Mike and all the great work that he does, we go through an analysis of their pro forma, the developer's pro forma, to make sure that in fact, the pilot is basically the difference between having a project and not having a project, or providing that economic certainty. You're going to hear Mike talk about some percentages of gross revenue in terms of calculating pilots. Statutorily, the township cannot charge a pilot less than 10% of annual gross revenue. What is annual gross revenue? It is exactly that. It is all of the revenues of a project. So, whether it's a commercial project that is leasing out, retail or office space, it is the rents that they receive. If they're charging for parking, it's parking they receive. In a residential context, it's pet fees and storage fees. Any revenue, basically, that the project produces, the pilot is a percentage of that revenue that gets paid to the municipality. And again, the minimum in the traditional context being 10%. Finally, all of those terms, wherever we land on them, project by project, are memorialized in what's called a financial agreement between the municipality and the developer. The pilot, pursuant to that financial agreement, can't last longer than 30 years. In a phased project where perhaps you're doing building 1 and a couple years later building 2, et cetera, each phase would get its own 30-year clock. So the township is assured of the benefit, the significant benefit of the pilot, the economic benefit of the pilot for the full 30-year period, sub-project by sub-project by sub-project in a context where you have a phase project. And with that, unless you have any other questions about sort of the pilot 101 portion, Councilman, as you mentioned, I'll turn it over to Mike Hanley.
Oh, just one thing I failed to mention. The pilot only begins when a certificate of occupancy is issued for the building. So the building gets put up and during construction, the pilot does not exist.
Absolutely. It's to the point that it's a pilot it's a tax on the improvement. We can't tax it until it's actually improved, right? Until it's done. But in the meantime, the developer is paying traditional, conventional real estate taxes all the way up through the point where that CO is issued.
Mr. President, I have a couple of questions in the 101 phase.
Oh, okay.
So several of us have land use board experience, and the key in looking at land use applications is not today or tomorrow, it's the long term. So in this case, we're talking about 30 years. 30 years is a long time, but year 31 and beyond, whatever has been subject to a pilot would then convert to essentially regular taxation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's really what interests me a great deal, is future viability. Is it fair to say that if a project is not done, you have land that still has some value, it still has some tax revenue, but not nearly what could come in? So, for instance, the property is paying taxes today, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. But it's not generating nearly what it could in terms of utility on the property and then ultimately taxation for any of the various entities, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So is it fair to look at a pilot as being a mechanism so that a developer gets a degree of cost certainty that allows that developer to then say, okay, it's going to cost me X number of dollars to develop the land and Y number of dollars to bring it to market and Z number of dollars in this pilot. I package that together, calculate whatever other expenses there may be over the 30-year period, and at that point can go identify financing that would then make the project viable.
Correct.
Okay. And in the absence of all those pieces, it could be very difficult to get financing. It could be very difficult to develop anything. And then any municipality, using Bridgewater as an example, is left with a property that is underperforming.
Correct.
Okay. So for the person that says, well, why don't you just go without the pilot? Why don't we just make this a straight taxation situation? Is that likely to be attractive to a developer as they are trying to put a project together, identify costs, and achieve financing?
No.
Okay. So in many cases, without a pilot, you're left with underperforming land. So I guess I'll ask as a question: should we be looking at pilots not as universal goods, not as universal bads, but as a pathway to achieving full utility on a property?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it, right? Because where it stands today, absent something changing, it's going to continue to remain that way. And what the change is, the zoning through redevelopment to allow for the type of project that you want, and providing the economics to turn that project from one that isn't feasible to economically be built because of either the project can't get financing and or it's not worth the developer's risk because the return to the developer's too low, or a combination of both, into a project that can get greenlit financially.
And last question, when someone makes an investment in a property like this, there's still going to be risk, because you don't know what the marketplace is going to look like in year 10, year 20, year 30. There are degrees of risk even when all these items come together. Is it fair to say that without a pilot, it just becomes so risky that there's almost nothing that could even happen there?
I mean, I think in the traditional sense, without a pilot, you can't get the financing in the first place, which goes to the, the economics of it, right? So you can't get the financing, maybe you can't even get the equity source, right? The financing's 70%, the equity source is maybe 30. You might not be able to ultimately raise enough in either construct if you don't have the correct math to make the project work.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess it's really financial certainty that gets encapsulated in it. Alan, do you have any questions? Okay. Michael, over to you.
Thank you, Councilman. My name is Mike Hanley. I'm with NW Financial. I have been working as the financial consultant for the municipality in these discussions, working with Matt and the administration in attempting to come to an agreement with the developer and to give you an opportunity, if you choose, to introduce and adopt an ordinance related to this project. And you actually covered, through your questions and your description, many of the topics that are important here, so I may be repeating some of the things that we just talked about, but I'll try and do it quickly. We're in you've worked for a long time to get this project to be the type of development you want, and you accepted specific uses that you feel match the nature of Bridgewater and are appropriate in this space. Those uses are some logistics space that make up about a quarter of the project, and then lab and office space that make up the balance of the project. And we're talking about almost 1 million square feet of redevelopment here. That property is currently producing only a few $100,000 in taxes. If this project is successful, under the terms we're talking about, will end closer to $3 million. And that's dollars that don't need to be raised from the current taxpayer. And that's why, if you choose to move forward, you would want to move forward because you're generating revenue that would not otherwise come in, and it can reduce the need to raise money from the existing taxpayer, notwithstanding that it is something less than what would be conventionally charged under taxes. Now, we've turned this into two different percentages based on the use. So the logistics space is going to start at 13.5%, and then go to 14%, and then go to 14.5% of the gross revenue, as we talked about before. So you become a partner with the developer in these deals. To the extent they make more money, you make more money. We're in a difficult economy as it relates to development for two primary reasons. We have a significant pressure on cost of construction and labor that has driven up the cost of building in a way that's very significant. Additionally, we are in an interest rate environment where rates have increased significantly generally, and the amount of available funds for construction lending has decreased significantly. So, construction loans that used to be 5% are now 9%. And that has changed the economics of these projects. The third very important piece here is that as it relates to the lab and office, we have a different set of percentages that starts at 10%, goes to 12%, and then to 14%. The reason that's a different set of math than the logistics space is because of the condition of the marketplace, where logistics is in high demand and it is easier to attract tenants. The lab and office space is not. And we've seen the way these things have worked, whether it's in, on 3, in Route 3 and Nutley, or in office spaces along the 280 corridor. We have closed down millions of square feet of office space that's older and out of date, but it's very expensive to get new lab and office space built, and we're in a very competitive marketplace as it relates to people competing for those tenants. There is as of the end of last year, probably a 20% or more vacancy rate in lab space. And so everyone that has incentives to use are using them in order to attract the tenants. And this structure will allow Bridgewater to be competitive and to bring that revenue forward. So we go from 300,000 to 3 million. So it's the certainty and the competitiveness with other places that makes this attractive to the tenants that would be users of the site, and they are the ones that cause the financing to occur and cause the development to be built. Developers are not speccing this type of space in the marketplace. They're waiting to find tenants that choose our location as a place to locate.
Down in terms of, because I know the chart's up there, nobody is going to be able to read it, let alone necessarily. All right, there you go. You're jumping, or I jumped ahead in terms of, give us some, estimated bottom line numbers. I mean, right now, if under the conventional, model right now, if they're being taxed at, if they're generating $600,000 of revenue, the township's getting, we're getting 12% of that. If it goes to, 3 million or more of taxes or traditional revenue, we're getting, again, 10% of that. So we go to 300,000. Under this model, we'd be getting, again, depending on how well they do, obviously if they do better, we get more, correct? Kind of like our mall is a pilot.
We are an absolute partner. We win when they win.
Right, and that's, the mall is a little bit different, but I mean, when they do really well, we get more money. They got minimums they have to pay, but the better they do, the better we do.
Exactly right. We want them to get as much money as possible so we can get as much money.
Right, and so that would bring in, for us, would bring in an additional, $2.2 million of revenue that we would, 2.2 total, I guess we'd be getting a little bit of that anyway, but significant impact on our budget.
Yes, the taxpayer Bridgewater, both as it relates to the total dollars coming in, and in particular, because we'll be receiving probably over 70% of the cumulative dollars, the municipal budget will be significantly enhanced by virtue of this project being successful.
So on your chart, you have 6 different buildings that will be built over time. And as you had indicated before, maybe it was Matt who said it, each one will be a separate 30-year program. So if the first one gets built in 2027, that starts there, the next one 2028 or whenever. But the bottom line is this is a win-win for the township and for the developer. And I guess if there's one message that I want to make sure we share with our residents, it's that this is a good thing.
I had one question, I guess, and statement/question. The first one is, I know, we have not in Bridgewater. We don't have a lot of pilots. We have, I think, a few other properties that we've identified that we are looking at. But how common is, how often are pilots used, in New Jersey in terms of, do you have any idea in terms of how frequent or rare they are?
Yes, I would say in the post-2008 timeframe, they have become extremely common, and they, to the tune of hundreds in a year throughout the state. And they've become more common post-COVID because of the pressure on costs related to the supply chain, related to interest rates that we discussed. It's just very expensive to build new product. And while rents of all types have increased significantly, the increase in the rents has been outpaced by the increase of the cost of development.
One of the things that you mentioned, and I want to just highlight or ask you to comment on is, we've taken an approach that we want to continue to make Bridgewater a place for biotech type innovation companies. And now we're not seeing the large sprawling campuses like Sanofi anymore. We're seeing companies like Insmed, and we're seeing companies like Celltech, and companies that are innovative companies that are building their national headquarters here that we hope continue to do well and maybe expand. My understanding is that, a site like this, where, especially when we're talking about the biotech office buildings, that the failure to look at pilots as a model for making sure the right tenants move in could mean that some of those companies, those marquee companies that we want to come to a space like the Petersburg Innovation Center, don't come, because the tax revenue is not just on the developer side, it's that they pass on to their tenants. So if you are a company looking as to where you want to go, and do you want to go to Bridgewater, or do you want to go to Morristown or Jersey City or somewhere else, that the tenants are the ones really looking for that certainty that gets passed on through their rent. And if we want to be competitive in the biotech, field, this is an important step in that to make sure that we can get those companies in.
Yeah, and the competitiveness of that marketplace, we're not just competing with New Jersey in the context of that. Like, New Jersey is one of the best places to go, and these types of companies come to places like New Jersey because they're seeking a really well-educated workforce that can do the important jobs that they do. But we're not the only place that has it, and they have site location teams that are also looking at Boston and Dallas and Raleigh and other places that also have, strong universities, well-educated populations that will fill those jobs, and those places also have incentive programs that attract them. So we're competing with the other sites in New Jersey, whether it's on 3 or Kenilworth or, pick one of the larger sites that is also trying to attract these tenants. But it's a national competition because these companies are spending huge amounts of money. These are more expensive than just office, right, because of the lab work, et cetera. So if you can't offer a good enough package, they will choose one of the other sites.
Now, I've also, I've indicated to the folks at Petersburg, and I think I've obviously indicated internally as well, that with this pilot, as I think Howard or Michael mentioned, they continue to pay traditional tax. Nothing changes until essentially they get their CO, their first CO for the first part of the project. But I know that depending on how the projects are structured, there are instances where, I will, in order to not say the wrong term, I will say that there are potentially opportunities to partner with them in ways that would provide us additional benefits sooner. I'll put it that way, so I don't step on any legal phrasing that is or is not what we're supposed to structure them. But in other words, because right now, if they don't have a CO for, let's just say, 2 years on the first phase, nothing changes anyway in the next 2 years. There's no, we get the benefit of the taxes of land, which is what we get now. But I've made it clear to them that, working on that,
Bridge.
That bridge is a critical piece of me approving any proposed, structure. So, making sure that that continues to be a part of that discussion.
So, Mayor, if I may briefly, for the benefit of the council and the public, having nothing to do with the pilot, right? This is a redevelopment project in a redevelopment area. And as a result, under the redevelopment law, we, the township, as a redevelopment entity, we are allowed to negotiate with the developer and collect a cost or a fee to offset or defray costs that we incur either in connection with the redevelopment project directly or in support of our redevelopment plan or in support of redevelopment efforts generally, right? This is not like a municipal land use law or a land use board, planning board, zoning board application, right, where you have to have a direct nexus between the project you are approving and the improvement that you are asking for, right? There is, in fact, no such nexus. Nonetheless, our redevelopment plan for this site talks about economic benefit to Bridgewater. It talks about benefit for the residents of Bridgewater. It talks about environmental conditions and improvements to Bridgewater, all as goals and objectives of the redevelopment plan in this for this project. So we do have an ability, unrelated to the pilot or to the financial agreement, to negotiate and discuss with the developer a fee or a series of fees to offset our costs, current and or future costs, in connection with redevelopment that we're going to have to bear the burden of from now until when we have pilot revenue coming on. Good.
Mr. President, was one follow-up to the comment made about the attractiveness of Bridgewater because, of our workforce. But is another side of that coin also these companies are often going to need to attract talent to come here because the talent they need may not all be native. So they may need to bring people in. And while New Jersey and this area may not be everybody's nirvana, certainly we offer a lot of positives. And so should we be looking at this as we owe it to ourselves to maximize the positive environment that we've collectively built, the community that we live in, so that companies can come in and not only find the people already here, but then also be able to bring others, which will then have people buying homes, keep our property values high, keep our community an attractive one to live in.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Any other comments? Mike and Matt, thank you very much for sharing your time and your talent, and thank you for the work that I know you have been doing in laboring on this for months. It's worth repeating that this is not an instantaneous process. It began months ago and will continue for a little while anyway. But thanks again, gentlemen.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Mr. Pappas, did you have a comment before we open to the public?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Nogales. The last council meeting, a member of the public had come and spoken about the township's financial management and questions about the, could you take one, pass it down, please, about bonding. And what I'm distributing to the council is a report that Mr. Anthony Inverso, our financial advisor, has prepared that clarifies for the benefit of the council and the public what was alluded to 2 weeks ago. The chart that I've presented is it's very simply a chart of various 10-year, 20-year, and 1-year a comparison of interest rates throughout a period from 2020 through 2025. And what you can see here are the arrows of the specific two dates, one in 2021 and one in 2022, when the township had a bond sale both for notes and permanent financing. Back in 2020, July 20th and 2021, we had one of the most low rates for note sale, which was 0.088%, really virtually one of the lowest, if not the lowest, that our financial advisor had seen, and a 1.556% for permanent financing. A year later, there were, again, for the note sale, 2.19%, and for the bond sale, 3.31%. The gentleman who spoke talked about how going for temporary financing for another year was a mistake. If you look at the next chart, a bar graph, that it's referenced as scenario 2, but I'll explain why I'm describing this one first. This is the financing, the debt service plan that our financial advisor and team have presented that the township has been following. And you can see a very steady and declining debt service. If you flip to the next page, which is what the resident had advocated for, you can see for 2022 there would have been a significant spike in the debt service that the township would have had to budget for and incur. And that is specifically why our financial team proposed what we ended up carrying out. So I'm going to be sharing this with members of the press for their edification, but I just wanted to make sure that the council understood, and for the benefit of the public, that what was presented was, again, his opinion, but not all of the facts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're up to item number 10, which is a meeting open to the public. Members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed 3 minutes to speak unless there are unusual circumstances. May I have a motion open to the public, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second it.
All those in favor signify by
Aye.
saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are open to public. Please come forward, sign in, make sure that the microphone is there.
We need a mic. Is the microphone
Is
there?
it, is it there? Okay, we're gonna get one moved up.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Okay, good. Kathy Franco, 766 Weemack Road. I thought I'd be able to stay under 3 minutes, but some things have been thrown on the agenda, which I didn't expect. First, Mike Pappas, the bond info that you passed out to the council and you shared with the press, will you be making that available to the public, and if so, in what form?
Yeah.
Well, that's for me, but do I guess. The pilot, you did a pilot 101, Mr. Nogales, which is indeed just that. It's an introduction to pilots. Because pilot 102 talks about the fact that if on that property, under the pilot, you're going to charge $100,000 in taxes, under the pilot, the township can keep $95,000 of that, and the county gets $5,000. And the school district previously would have gotten $67,000. And the library would have gotten money, the fire department would have gotten money, and right now we only have 2 pilots in town, from my recollection, Center Bridge and the mall.
That's correct.
The mall, I know, is dependent upon revenue, and that's why during COVID and post-COVID, we were having issues collecting money from the mall. So let's make sure that we do the pilot 102 all the way to the pilot 301 for the public, so every taxpayer can understand that if this administration decides to negotiate a pilot, the residents' expectations, both the residents like me and the commercial residents, are going to end up absorbing an undue burden for those other taxes. Because what we expected when you said, oh, we're doing an area new redevelopment, and we're going to build 2 warehouses, and we're going to add some more lab space, and that was going to be taxed universally the way every other piece of property other than those 2 pilots are taxed, and it was going to share in the cost of our schools, our library, our recycling, everything. Now suddenly, that's not. So that burden falls on me as a taxpayer. That burden falls on every other commercial taxpayer, and I am not happy about that. So unless you can show me a pilot plan that says you're going to reduce their tax, I don't have a problem with saying, oh, you don't have to collect $3.4 million, you'll collect 3, and you'll divide it evenly the way it's been done in the past. I could support that. But thinking you're going to get 95% of that,
What I
and
said
the schools
was
aren't, is not, I'm not happy.
that it is at the township's discretion.
Exactly. It's at the township's discretion, and we don't get input on it, in which case I'm not supporting a pilot. And
Thank
I
you.
will advocate to not support a
Thank you
pilot.
for your comments.
What?
Thank you.
Okay.
Just want to note that when you say, we get the money, we meaning the Bridgewater taxpayer.
No, the
money-
Bridgewater
no,
Township
ma'am,
municipal
please,
budget.
please, don't cut me off. I never cut you off.
Oh, yes, you
I want
do,
the
Mr.
same courtesy,
Petroso.
please. That money that's generated by the pilot that goes to goes to the municipal budget belongs to the people. It's the people's money. So that money is just something that will be used into the overall municipal budget, maybe reduce their taxes or not, I don't know. But that money,
Maybe it'll be.
but that money will go back to the people. It's the people's money. It's not our money here, sitting up here.
You know what? The whole thing is, you've got as item 13A, a resolution to approve more money to be spent, almost $3 million. If you annualize that, because we're only in month 5, that becomes $76 million for the year. Last year, our budget was $50.5 million.
I can guarantee you the budget will not be $76 million.
Well, but since you have a copy of the proposed budget, can you give me an indication as to how much we're talking about? Because you have it.
As I
In 2
stated
weeks,
earlier-
we will
No,
have an
can you give it,
introduced
you
budget.
can't give it to me today? What was proposed to you?
The draft working budget, no, it's
Draft
not.
working budget.
Yes.
Okay, so
Not
how
public.
close, so am I closer to 50.5 million or closer to 76 million?
You're nowhere near 76 million.
Am I anywhere close to 50.5 million?
I think closeness is in the eye of the beholder.
Oh, you know what? I don't even want to hear your walk-arounds.
Relax.
Okay? Because you're not giving me, you're a marketing person. Okay? And I know that. So you're not going to give me a straight answer. Okay? And that's really frustrating. Because you think that we're all
You will
sitting
have
on
an
the side.
exceptionally
I-
clear answer in
wait.
2 weeks.
I stated before, we will have a budget introduction in 2 weeks. We do not have it tonight, but
And you should have had a budget introduction long before tonight. And I'm not even going to go over my other things. So just, understand, people are watching the fact that you are excessively spending, that you can't control your expenses. That's why you're looking at pilots. Mr. Mayor Mensch, when he was councilman, during his campaign for mayorship the first time, got up and fought against pilots on the same property.
The same property that you supported.
I never got up and spoke on either side of that topic, sir. I spoke on the fact that it was a property that needed to be redeveloped. You were the one who created a website, who created a blog, who created a Facebook page that blocked me, and I'm still blocked from that page as well as from your page. So don't talk to me about freedom of speech. Don't talk to me about those things, Mr. Pedoso.
please remain on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Franco. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? Come on up.
Jane Gandolf.
How are you?
That's in Washington Valley Road, Martinsville. I have a couple of things I want to take.
Can you speak a little closer to the mic, Jane?
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
First thing is directed to you, Mr. Nogales. Thank you so much for your 21 years of service to Bridgewater. Your knowledge and your experience is incredible, as shown tonight in your explanation of some of the processes.
Thank you.
Dedication to serving the community is great. We really appreciate it, as we appreciate the time that every council member spends. We wish you well.
Thank you.
And that's personally as a resident. I also want to thank Mr. Pappas and DPW and Tom Genova. The Friends of Bridgewater History had a talk on Camp Cromwell last week, and Mr. Pappas came and provided an update. DPW provided some safety cones for us, and Tom Genova allowed us to borrow back the artifacts that we've uncovered at Camp Cromwell. So thank you. It was a little disappointing that none of you were there except Mr. Pappas. So next time we have a talk, we'd love to see you. My next topic is a little more controversial. It's with regard to a meeting you had on April 3rd, a private session regarding the cottages of Martinsville. I believe that you had a developer who offered a gift of a house to be fully restored or refurbished, brought up to code completely, and would like that house to then be rented to the Friends of Bridgewater History for future use. Unfortunately, I heard that that was declined. I was very disappointed because it would have been a house open to the public in Bridgewater, which we don't have today, although we have several historic properties. We have Camp Cromwell that we've owned since 2017, and it's not open. We have the Hancock Preserve House. I don't remember when that was purchased, but that's not open to the public. We have the Lane Brokaw House on Milltown Road, which you very generously have allowed us again this year to use when we participate in Journey Through the Past. However, that is not open, and it's a terrible state of disrepair. You have the Vaucher Preserve off Foothill Road. We bought the Stempian property so that we would have a place to park, and we still don't have access. So these are all examples of how our money has been spent for historic preservation, and nothing has happened as a result. We still don't have anywhere we can go as a public to visit the historic sites in Bridgewater. So my ask is, would you reconsider the offer from the developer? Friends of Bridgewater History is in a position to be able to accept that gift if you do not, but we would prefer that the township show support for the historic properties within our township. A year ago, I was asked to be a member of the Bridgewater Township Historic Committee, and I agreed, and I was sworn in or whatever it was at the clerk's office, and there has yet to be a meeting of that committee, nor has anyone stepped up to actually support any of the historic sites. So as a resident, it's very disappointing. You know my history. My family goes back 300 years and blah, blah, blah. I just don't want to see any more houses lost, any torn down. It's happened all over Bridgewater, particularly Martinsville. I don't think this house will be torn down, but it would be a shame to lose it. And I do think it's a great opportunity for the township to show support for our historic sites. So my ask is please reconsider. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council, please come forward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Seth Nix, and this is my first council meeting ever. So, good flavor of everything, and so I appreciate it. I just came to introduce myself. I'm a pastor, a new pastor of the Acts Church, and we're looking to plant here in Bridgewater, and I just wanted to introduce myself. Our pastor to our men's ministry, Jeff Graham, is in the back. And we just wanted to know that we will be of service to the township any way that we can. And that's it.
Do you have a business card? Could you give it to Mr. Pappas?
I have a digital one on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll do that. He's more tech savvy than the back. Okay. Am I coming to get that card?
And we welcome you.
Thank you.
And we're here every couple of weeks. Come on back.
We'll be back. We'll definitely be back.
Is that Bob Albano waving from the back? Would you like to come forward, sir? You know, after being on this side of the bar for 23 years, 24, sorry. Well, I didn't want to break your record. Bob Albano served very, very faithfully for many years, and when he left the council position, he entrusted me with keeping track of the number of compliments which the council had gotten. And I think in those last dozen years, I think we've gotten 5 more, Bob, so.
More than a dozen. Bob Credella's gunning for your record.
Oh, you're gunning for my record?
One more term will do it.
Okay. All right, well, I will be here to honor you. For the record, Juliana, my name is Robert Albano. I live at 1149 Papin Road in Bridgewater, New Jersey, at the very end of the postal district for Martinsville. But I am a member of the Martinsville Rescue Squad, as well as a whole bunch of other things that you all know about. But I am here, can I ask a question about the Peters Brook thing?
Sure.
As you know, I have some experience with Township Council business. I would be concerned about issues regarding bankruptcy, because there was at least one issue in this town in which a developer's agreement and payment in lieu of taxes and pilots and on, which guaranteed the town a certain reasonable amount of revenue. However, the course of business, that business declared bankruptcy and the agreement with the township dissipated. So I would ask our distinguished attorney, Mr. Corsini, who I've known for many years, pleasantly, to be sure that they do something to protect the township in the event of bankruptcy.
We'll work with Redevelopment Council to ensure that, Councilman Albano.
Okay, thanks, Chris. But I'm here to talk about an environmental issue. I made copies. I will give one to Juliana.
Hey, Bob, what,
Oh, there you go.
After all.
Anyway, I'm talking about Peters Brook. Peters Brook kind of begins in my backyard. But over the years, going back to when I first got involved in 1978, it was a problem, and it was eroding the banks. Howard Clark, who was the engineer at the time, and Chip Mills, who was the deputy, worked on it, and it took them close to 10 years to get something to happen. So around 1985 or so, gabions were put in, and those gabions served well even during Hurricane Floyd. However, as time went on, additional hurricanes came through there, and most recently, Ida pretty much destroyed them, and they're pretty much gone. And so the pictures there's only 4 pictures there, showing what it was about a year ago versus what it is now. It continues to erode, lost about another foot in the last round of storms. The concern is that it is, in fact, eroding away the land, and there is approximately a 100-foot-high oak tree that's about 100 years old, and when it falls, and it will fall if we don't do something about it, it will land on the house of my neighbor, where there are 2 young children living, and that would not be a nice thing. It would also take the power lines down. I've talked to the county about this, and they are concerned with the bridge, and guess what? Hot potato went to you guys, and they said that the stream itself is an issue for the town to take care of. So I'm asking that we do something about the erosion from a safety perspective, and I don't know why the flow in that stream is so much more than it was 45 years ago, but it is, every time it rains, like the rain we had over the weekend, scours out more of the land, and you can just see from the pictures, it's now, there was a block that I put that I would go out to the edge, and I kind of looked at the stream. That block is now at the very end. My wife will not let me step on it, and so anyway, I ask you to take a look at that. I've talked to Tom Genova, and so anyway, that was it. But Thank you for your service, and I will not take up any more of your time. Good night, Mike.
Thank you, Robert.
Come on.
Miss,
I'm sorry, yeah.
Used to be snake that would almost always be sunning on that rock, and then I guess I forget which storm it was. It was Ida, but one of the storms there just completely, upended everything. And, you go by today and it's all.
I think it was Ida. As a matter of fact, the gabions got ripped out from the wall and they were laying across the stream. And I called Dickie Schremp in Public Works, and they came and cleaned it out.
Right, but it's still, one of the things too that, we're looking at, not to derail the whole conversation, but with something like the pilot with the Petersbrook, organization, some of the benefits that we may be able to receive, in the interim period between now and then, sometimes it can be cash, sometimes it can be, improvement projects where, they may not be, they may not be writing a check that just goes into the general fund, but maybe the kind of thing where, given the fact that a redevelopment project is, one of the goals of the redevelopment area is to improve environmental conditions on the property. Chambersburg doesn't go through their property, but Petersbrook does, and they do. Chambers and Petersbrook do combine.
Chambers and Petersbrook come together on
the other side, but it's still facing the same system. So those are the kind of things that we look at too. But it's funding source is the issue. It's figuring out, where can we get? Is there a place for funds other than just?
Yeah, if gabion baskets didn't cost so much, I would just do it myself. But it's also the township's investment. I don't know how much it cost to do back in '85, but whatever was done very shortly will be absolutely, totally lost. And so I appreciate your attention and
thank you,
increase the number by 1. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Albano mentioned gabion, and for the public's purpose, that's a wire basket that is filled with rocks and is used basically as a retaining wall, generally along stream bodies. Okay, step up, sir, please.
Thank you.
Please sign in, please.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
I came with a specific question about a property on Chimney Rock Road, but I do want to say that I think the previous woman who was...
Signed in, would you give us your name?
Oh, my name is Dan Zielinski.
Thank you.
Live at 715 Chimney Rock Road.
Thank you.
The previous resident that was talking about the pilot program, and just for clarification for any of the public that might be watching, I think what she was trying to say is not that 95% of those funds would go into your pockets, that it's a part of the administration's, it's a part of the tax revenue that you have to spend. I think the piece that she was trying to communicate is that through normal taxation, a place like the library would be guaranteed a certain percent. But as it relates to a pilot program such as you were talking about, it means that it would be at the council's or the mayor's discretion as to whether or not any percent of that 95% would be allocated to like an organization like the library. And I think that that's what her concern was. I may be wrong about that, but I do think it's important for people to understand how that money then gets dispersed, and that it's at the administration's discretion, not that it would be going into the administration's pockets. But the reason that I came tonight is there's a property at the top of Chimney Rock Road that my impression was set up to be a development for senior citizens, single-family homes, and it appears as if the development, the construction has stopped, and I'm just wondering what is the situation with that property Has the developer backed out of it? Is there a bankruptcy issue, or is it just stalled, or, why is it stopped?
I can speak to that.
Yes, sir.
I've spoken to the developer. They received approval from the zoning board for, I think it's 8 single-family homes, age-restricted. And there was a period of time that they came forth wanting to see that converted to higher density, affordable housing, partial affordable housing. And now I was more recently told that now that there is another developer that will likely become involved in and wants to build it as it was approved. They may go back to the zoning board for some slight modification of one aspect of the approval, but that's the last I've been told.
Okay.
One of the things that we're seeing is that, some of these, some developers who have projects that either they have received approvals on or they have kind of that they're thinking about, are all waiting to see what happens with the, the next round of affordable housing. So some of these folks are now sitting on projects to see, whether they can now come back and say, well, we'll build, 45 units there if you need that to make your affordable housing plan and things like that. And so we're seeing some folks there too on different projects that are out there.
Got it. And I recognize it may be difficult to really nail a time frame, but any time frame on when that might be done? I mean, would it be the end of this year?
You're talking about the development on Chimney Rock. You're talking about the affordable housing plan.
No, the development on the top of Chimney Rock.
Yeah, you'd have to ask the developer.
Yeah, that's on, we don't have any. That's
We don't have any control over that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council, please come forward.
Good, my name is
Adam, lower the microphone so you can speak into it. There you go. Thank you.
My name is very short. Still, I ride very slow. Yeah. First of all, I want to ask.
But Adam, you have to announce your name and address, please.
Yeah, Adam Alb, A-L-B. I live in 2002 Washington Valley Road in Martinsville. I have a question for you all. If you are familiar with Amendment 4 of the Constitution.
I'm sorry, I didn't get what the question was.
Are you familiar with the Amendment 4 of the United States Constitution?
Yeah.
Are you, all of you are familiar? Okay. Now, I want to be sure because if the longer I talk, the angrier I get. I brought here, because I'm a farmer, I brought here the Right to Farm Act of New Jersey. And I want to give it to you. You all read it. And I don't want anything to do but to apply here. Now I love this town. I moved here. My family grew up here. I'm a respected member of community. My children grew up. They have successful business in Bridgewater. But I got stuck in this town by harassing by people of this town, people in power, tyrants. They are tyrants, and I'm sure some of you know what happened to me for over 30 years since I moved to this town. All I wanted to build a house and to practice the primary economic right in this country, right to farm. Adam Smith, the father of economics, said that farming is the pillar of economy. When the right to farm was introduced more than 30 years ago, the people in state, they realized that without farm, cannot survive. Some philosophers say that the economic is not gold or whatever. The economy is farming. All other economics divert from farming. Yet, here you buy land from people under the name of preservation. You deceive the people. And then you keep the land, you don't use it for preservation, like this lady complained that there is on not Chimney Rock, was that Vasley Avenue, you bought some land there, a taxpayer money, and the public still cannot use it? Or after years, after people forget who paid for that land, you sell it to a developer to spend more money on pork barrel projects. I have it here. For 30 years, they are harassing me. Neighbors. And I've been there before any of them came into my neighborhood. Some of them left. Some of them came, other left, other died. Most of them, my neighbor who opposed me being there, they died. Others, they left. And others come. Whenever somebody is complaining, they don't even, they hide their name. Somewhere they are aware that it's illegal what they do. I have here all the papers. Somebody is complaining, there is a procedure. You go to county agricultural committee and file a complaint. And there are not one guy, like one guy here in the office, Department of complaining and make decision if I'm violating or not. I came a couple of weeks ago to get some papers of all the violations I was talking before. 13 violations they put on this score, and because I had some money to defend myself, only one was I was found guilty, and that one was by Judge Saxon. That was a tyrant. Everybody knows about that guy. It was this guy, Jones, official, right? Verbally, I don't know if it was fired or what.
He retired.
He retired.
Yeah.
I was asking if something had happened recently that brought you here, because Judge Sasso has not been the judge here in Bridgewater for, could be 10 or 15 years. George Jones has not been the code official here for, yes, but he,
wife prayed for this guy.
yeah.
That guy said,
Yeah. I just wanted to know if there was something that had happened.
The guy, he fell off, tumbled.
Yeah.
My neighbor fell off
Yeah.
the stairs, died.
Yeah.
He was one of the opposers.
Right.
I had to fight twice for zoning.
Right.
Not zoning, it's adjustment.
Right.
Cordova
Right.
adjustment, which I didn't even
Right.
need adjustment.
Right. But I'm asking, did something happen recently? Is there a specific? Oh, yeah, that's what I was asking about. What happened?
My neighbor told me that just a couple of days, somebody was, my neighbor, he's helping me to clean the property that was burned. The township doesn't know they burned my property.
Did they burn your property? Who burned your property?
I would like you all to come to see what happened to my property.
Right.
I have, for 30 years, I'm filing for filing.
Right.
For tax assessment.
Right.
They saw they cannot throw me out from there.
Right.
Because I'm fighting. You know what I
Right.
came from?
Right. Yeah. You told me once. Is it?
I came from Romania.
I was gonna say I had the wrong. I was gonna say I knew Eastern Europe, but I couldn't remember.
Mr. Council President, I'm so sorry, but this gentleman is going through a great effort of coming here tonight to address this and to make a public record, but he's not on the microphone, and it's not really being recorded and being part of the public record.
I think you hear even without microphone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the issue.
I'd like you
Mr.
to
Al-
come and see what happened to my property.
Is this something that just happened to your property? I know that in the past you've spoken about a fire from 30 years ago. Is that still the issue that you
The
want?
same issue. Same issue. The zoning official doesn't tell me who is complaining. The zoning official, I told him I'm protected by Right to Farm Act.
Now, the right to farm does
Right
not-
to farm, yeah.
The right to farm does not protect you from not maintaining your property. The right to farm says if you are a farmer and you are farm assessed, you are entitled to produce crops and spread manure
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say that
Produce
you
crop.
are.
You know
said
what?
Before you said the right to farm exempts you from anything else. That is not the case. The right to farm provides you with specific rights if you are a farmer. Are you registered as a farmer?
I'm a registered. I file with the state,
But that
with
my
the
question
state,
was,
and
are
I
you-
file with this town, with the county. I file as a farmer.
Excuse me, Mr. Norgels, he is
Okay.
qualified as a farm assessed property.
And he's entitled to the protection of the Right to Farm Act.
Right.
But that does not preempt all township zoning at all.
All township zoning. If township has issue with how I run my property, first you go to the county agricultural committee. If I win or you win, the one here who's complaining or a neighbor or whoever is complaining, if it's not resolved, then it go to the state.
All right. Are you currently being cited by a township official for anything?
Yeah.
And that is the zoning officer?
I don't know, somebody.
Well, if I can,
They call even the state.
Mr. Al,
People from state came there and they found nothing in violation.
Mr. Al, when you and I spoke last week when you were here, I'd said that I needed a few days to look into your situation.
Yeah.
And I had Mrs. Bueno from my office call you to say that I was prepared to speak with you or meet with you, and then you informed her that you were going to come here. So I maintain that I'm prepared to meet with you to review what I've learned and I'd like to do that. If you'd like, I can call you tomorrow morning, and we can set a time when we can.
All right, all right.
Okay?
Okay?
But
Right.
what I want to come and see what my neighbors, those who complained, did to me.
I will be happy to come to visit you.
I want to tell
me
you,
what you'd like.
I lost my wife. I lost my wife because she couldn't. We have a daughter in Paris, in France. She went there because she couldn't stand. She always say, Adam, there are the laws. You have to obey the laws. These people here are for enforcing the law.
Okay.
Enforcing the law for 30 years.
When you meet with Mr. Pappas at a point of your mutual choosing, you can share with him those issues, and insofar as there is a citation from a township employee, he can pursue it. Okay?
I'll make sure that the council gets briefed. I'll make sure they have all the information too, so that they have the background, not just Mr. Pappas, so that way, if you speak to any of the council members, you can be assured that they're aware of it, and they're aware of, where the situation.
I came here because I wanted everybody to hear, and I'm sure some of you know about the harassment. Mr. Mayor, when you came campaigning, I happened to be at my son's house.
Yeah.
Right? And
I remember.
Did you see my wife? How charming. She's a woman that you cannot find, readily you can find a woman like that.
I remember very well. She was very nice.
Very sweet.
She was.
And I told you, Mr. Mayor, drain the swamp. You
Mr.
just
we have
look
we have a
back
full.
to me and
I
you
don't want to
left.
cut you off, but you have a
Is
vehicle.
that true or not?
Yeah, no, I remember that. I
Rapp.
actually remember that. And your wife.
Did you do anything?
We did.
Just last year, this guy, Dornberger, pulled me in court.
Right.
You had a lawyer that, the
All right.
lawyer, the
Mr.
township
Alp,
lawyer.
Sir,
Give
you
me-
have a
give me-
vehicle dresser. The hour is late. We have a full agenda
Okay.
that we need to go.
All
to.
right.
So I
All
thank
right.
you for your time, and it's good to see you again. And when you meet with Mr. Pappas, he will report back to the council as to the outcome of his discussions with you. Okay, sir?
Better, because this is not the end.
Okay.
It's the end somewhere, all the way to Supreme Court.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council?
Sorry, Mike.
I thought you were going to chat with us again. Good night, Robert. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Seeing no movement, could I have a motion to close public input?
I'll make that motion.
Second, please. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are closed to the public. Thank you. All right, we're moving on to public hearing and final action ordinance. Item number 11. 11A, an ordinance authorizing the sale of property known as Lot 511 in Block 3 on the Bridgewater Township tax map and located at, Whitney Court, Bridgewater, New Jersey, 08807. It's the part that's east of Shasta Drive. To Triple C Housing Incorporated, 1520 Route 130 North, Suite 201, North Brunswick, New Jersey, 08902, which is the buyer, for a nominal consideration of $100 pursuant to NJSA 48:12-21L to construct an affordable housing if the developer is unable to meet construction costs through other sources. The township may contribute up to $150,000 from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Could I have a motion to open to the public for this item?
I'll make them.
That motion.
Motion?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are open to the public for anyone wishing to comment. And I see someone coming forward.
Hello again, Kathy Franco, Weemac Road. My question is, we're talking about up to $150,000. is this the property that's going to have 8 affordable housing units? 5.
5 is...
With double
We'd like to see 6, but I think 5
Okay,
is the
5,
number.
but we get double credits on it, okay.
Right. They're called bonus credits.
So I guess my question is anybody looking at their financial pro forma and seeing like, will they be able to maintain this? If they can't even get the financing to build it, and you're thinking about giving them $150,000, have we talked about a loan instead?
We are providing funds after a very extensive process where they have to prove to us they can't get financing by any other way, in which case we would utilize up to $150,000 from our fund.
This is an organization that a number
It's
of
a
our
nonprofit.
professionals have worked with, and we're aware that they have very successfully undertaken similar projects elsewhere.
Well, I appreciate that, but that's, I guess, kind of why I question why they might need this additional, basically free money. It's not even financing.
Yes, sometimes with some of these projects, depending on where they're getting their loans from, sometimes municipalities, if they at least indicate that the money is there,
Potentially.
it's almost like a down payment. You got to show you have enough money in the bank to get the loan, even though you're not necessarily going to use the money. So some of these projects, in order to get, depending where the financing comes from, to have the municipality back it is what the lenders need to know that the lenders have enough of the certainty to be able to, so that they know that, hey, there's at least some pot of money there that if it takes longer, construction overruns. So it's pretty.
And not to make any judgment, but just trying to understand the financial modeling of it, the occupants of this will primarily be paid for through Medicaid programs or services, I assume?
I don't know that that's the case. I don't think so in this particular case. They're separate apartments, and these individuals will be living in separate.
So they'll be falling under the affordable housing, not under the Medicaid affordable housing piece account. Okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council? If not, could I have a motion to close public input and move for final
Make that
action?
motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cordella,
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso, Council President Norgalis.
Yes. Okay. Under item 12, introduction of no new ordinances, we have none. Moving to resolutions 13A, resolution providing for emergency temporary appropriations for current fund in the amount of $1,421,314.19, which brings the 2025 year-to-date temporary appropriations to $32,269,389.15. Mr. Pappas, would you like to?
Sorry, I got you off. Sorry. Just wanted to, a couple things. Thank the budget subcommittee both for their work on this and their work on the budget overall. We've looked at this. We've removed $200,000 about from the temporary budget just to make sure that we are lean on what we need to make payments on. And I also want to, in advance and for the work we've already done, thank the budget subcommittee and Council President Norgalis. With regard to this year, believe it or not, we are nearly 2 months ahead of where we were last year with the budget process. So we did informal presentations on the draft budget in late June. We introduced in early July. So we are ahead of where we were last year. So thank you for your work on that, and we will get everything done. So
Okay, any questions on 13A? If not, could I have a motion to approve, please?
I'll make the motion to approve 13A
Second.
based on, I'm sorry, I'll take the second. Yeah, take.
Okay.
I'll second it based on my understanding that these are, these are bills that would be included in the budget no matter where the budget lands.
Yeah, Council President, just consistent with my prior votes on these emergency temporary appropriation resolutions, I will vote no. Although I have received the binder this evening, I received the budget binder. I have not had a chance to go through it. Looking at the resolution on its face at 32.2 million times 2 puts it at 64 million. I understand certain things are top-heavy, however, I certainly would not approve a $64 million budget. I am a little concerned about the expenditures. I will not support the resolution.
And Mr. President, just the briefest of commentary, not only is 75 million not the right budget number, 64 million is also not the right budget number, unless something dramatically changes in the next 2 weeks. But just for the benefit of the public, you know, these are absolutely necessary bills that must be paid. Failure to pay these bills would create severe negative consequence, including items like keeping our group health insurance up to date, the basic maintenance of our facilities, our information technology structure, senior services, the health benefits waiver, streets and roads, including pothole repair, our recycling contract, which we are a legally binding requirement with the county, library maintenance, planning board operations, and including but not limited to paying our employees. So there's, you know, these are items that clearly, as a functioning government, we must do, and that will be my reason for voting yes. Certainly, I'm not pleased that we're still sitting here in May with temporary appropriations. I believe that with better planning and an earlier start, we could have avoided this. That's behind us. We are where we are today, and as I noted in my comments earlier, with continued due diligence, we anticipate being in a position to have a budget introduction in 2 weeks.
Mr. Pappas, I want to thank you and your staff for the exhaustive reanalysis done, enabled that reduction. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
No.
Council President Norgales?
Yes. 13B, authorizing the modification of Resolution 24-12-19-291 as it applies to the housing rehabilitation project at 855 Brown Road in Bridgewater. This is a relatively de minimis amount. I think we're talking less than $700 as a change to it. Unless there's any discussion of that, I'd like to have a motion on 13B. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla? Councilman Perdoso? Council President Norgales?
Yes. C is resolution of the Township of Bridgewater, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a federal aid agreement with the NJDOT for the Adamsville School Pedestrian Safety Project, which receives Safe Routes to School funding. Mr. Pappas, would you like to comment on that, sir?
I will relieve Mr. Pappas the responsibility. Just as a general matter, I think the council is aware that we received a grant from the federal government for a pretty comprehensive project in the Adamsville Road area. This allows us to do, safety improvements to regard to a lot of either improving sidewalks to, grading sidewalks where there aren't one, fixing some roadways that might create dangerous hazards. This allows us, in terms of not just improving the quality of life in the area, can eliminate some of the hazardous busing and make it overall safer to walk for school.
Can I have a motion on 13C, please?
It doesn't require a match, right? It's just straightforward.
May I? This is the initial step. We will be coming back to the council. This is a reimbursable grant. So we will be coming back for request for the initial amount, but again, it's reimbursable.
Yeah, one of the challenges that we have on this project, and I think there's one or two other ones that we're going to have to deal with this year, is that you get the money, but only after you spend it, which means we have to appropriate it in the budget process or through a capital, through a bond, and up front to get the money back. So that's a challenge on. There's another Safe Routes to School, and I think there's a third project with the state, I think, where it's one of those.
Best be done in the same year.
Yeah.
With the project, yeah. Okay. Okay. You get a motion? I did. Motion, please, on 13.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second, please. I'll second it. Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla? Yes. Councilman Perdoso,
Yes.
Council President Norgales,
Yes. Moving to D, resolution opposing legislation S 1408/A2757, sponsored by Senator Troy Singleton and Ben J. Wimbley. Also, Assembly members Louis Greenwald, Clinton Calabrese, Tennille McCoy, and co-sponsored by Dan Hutchinson and Robert A. how do you mispronounce it? Karavanchak, which would preempt local planning and permit conversion of certain office parts and retail centers to mixed-use developments. I think this is just bad legislation. This attempts to take home activity away from our boards. And anyway, Mr. Mayor or Mr. Pappas, would you like to offer a comment?
You know, we don't do a lot of resolutions, kind of generally opposing or supporting kind of random things as a matter of practice here. In Bridgewater, which I think is a good one. This one, however, you know, what we've continued to see, especially as we go through our affordable housing plan and deal with this next round, is a continued assault by Trenton on suburban municipalities in particular to try to force what they believe to be, you know, development down our throats that we don't want or doesn't fit our community. And what this bill would do, if it ever got passed, is allow them, when municipalities like Bridgewater properly plan, to stop large-scale mixed-use developments that will bring in thousands and thousands of people. Well, they can just come in and say, never mind. We would like, you know, we have somebody who want to do that. And I think that's terrible for Bridgewater, it's terrible for the state, and I think this is important enough to make sure we send a message that this is not acceptable in our town.
Well stated. Could I have a motion on D, please?
I'll make the motion.
A second, please?
Second it.
And Mr. President, just the briefest of comments, because this came up in significant detail during my conversation about affordable housing in our plan. And, you know, it's bad enough that we're being boxed into a corner. It's bad enough that we're, you know, operating with handcuffs in terms of planning for our community's future. You know, this is now yet another limitation on our home rule. You know, essentially, as I understand it, any office building or almost any office building could now become housing. And I think that's an expectation that neighbors who live adjacent to an office building would wake up and be very surprised at. I think when you live adjacent to a commercial zone, you have a reasonable expectation that, you know, it's going to kind of remain somewhere in the vicinity of what it is. Not that it's going to become more housing, potentially high-density housing, potentially, you know, things that just you would not expect them to be. I'm also concerned about how this might impact formulas. Or, you know, is this now going to be bonus affordable housing requirements? So will communities that have office buildings now be penalized because they used to have more functional office space? I just think there's too many unknowns about this, and it's certainly yet additional overreach from Trenton.
Let's just call it what it is. Trenton Democrats are trying to ruin our suburbia here in New Jersey. It's the bottom line. They're on a mission.
I think you have it.
A roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council President Norgales?
Yes. Okay, we're now moving to item number 14, which is a closed session. Be it resolved by the Bridgewater Township Council, this body will now hold a closed session meeting to discuss, and we have several items. Contract negotiations for shared service agreement, litigation on a contract, and negotiations of affordable housing. At the conclusion of the closed session, we anticipate no business, and we will simply adjourn. Could I have a motion to go to closed
I'll
session?
make that
please?
motion.
Second, please.
I'll second.
All those in favor? signify by saying Aye. All right, we are now closed. We'll take a second. Suzanne? Okay, we have concluded our closed session and closed it. We are now open for an adjournment motion.
I make that motion, we adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.